All right, thank you so much for this opportunity. I just briefly in the next 15 minutes going to be sharing a bit more about my experience applying for the Global Talent Visa. Okay, so a lot of people often wonder what the Global Talent Visa route is. I think it actually had a different name before now. It used to be called like a Tier 1 visa, but in 2020, no, in 2019, the UK government decided to revamp the name to Global Talent Visa Route. So the idea basically behind this particular visa is to be able to attract the best and exceptional talents across different part of the world in specific field areas and try to attract them into the UK to come pursue like a career basically. And yeah, so that's basically what the Global Talent Visa route is. Of course, you know, after your postgraduate program, there's the option of the graduate visa route, but I'll be shedding more light on the reasons why you should probably consider this as an option as well. From research, there are different categories of this available. There's the exceptional talent, and then there's the exceptional promise. And with the Global Talent Visa, you actually get an option to apply for your permanent residency or for an ILR after 3 years if you come under the exceptional talent category. And for exceptional promise, there's the option to also apply for your permanent residency after 5 years. There are different routes for this particular visa. There are three different endorsement body that I'm very much aware of. There's the first one is the academia stroke research. The second is the digital technology. I'm sure a lot of people are quite familiar with technician. And then the third one is art and culture, which is like the category that I've decided to, you know, pursue or use as my route. And whenever you choose to apply for a global talent visa, there are two stages involved in it. First is the endorsement itself, and second is the visa application. However, you need to undergo stage 1 first before you can go on to stage 2. You need to have gotten like your endorsement, which comes at a particular fee. The fee as at a few hours ago when I checked on the government website is at £456. And once you get your endorsement by any of the endorsement body accredited by the UK government, you can proceed on to pay for your visa application. So the total for applying for a global talent visa is, of course, £608. However, beyond this particular cost, you of course need to pay for your IHS, which is like your health insurance subcharge of for everybody at all that comes into the UK, you need to have that particular health insurance covered. And so, like I mentioned earlier, there are different endorsement bodies available. Like I said, three categories: academia and research. Under the academia and research endorsement body, we've got the Royal Society, the Royal Academy of Engineering, British Academy, and they all have institutions that are accredited by them to actually carry out these endorsements. If you are deciding to pursue the GTV route through as an academia or a researcher. So I know a lot of people who want to come into the UK for like a PhD and maybe like a fellowship program, or have gotten like a job opportunity in the academia in the British, usually pursue this particular option. Then the second one, which I am very familiar with or I'm privileged to be a recipient of, is like the art and culture endorsements, which is usually done by the Art Council of England. So the Arts Council of England is like the endorsement body responsible for global talent visa for applicants that fall under the arts and culture category. And of course, the digital technology, which is technician. A lot of people are more familiar with technician because everyone is so excited about technology these days, especially back in Nigeria. So my next slide, I will be shedding more light on the different fields that fall under arts and culture, which is like the routes or the endorsement body that I worked with. So for art and culture, these are the fields or areas of specialization or expertise you should belong to, or you should have some measure of skill in order for you to be to qualify for this type of visa. In terms of eligibility, so beyond being a key player in all of these fields, you need to be able to prove that you have produced some body of work that are outstanding or excellent in quality. And in the best way for you to prove some of those is probably the fact that your work has been presented, exhibited, or published in the public domain, and they are quite accessible to people anywhere in the world. You also need to make sure that all of your contribution or work within any of these fields are available or are very, very recent. That is within the last 5 years. You have like a track record of consistently churning out work within this field in the last 5 years, and you've been engaged professionally in any capacity as a practitioner in your field. Also, you need to show a substantial track record in more than one country if you're applying for the exceptional talent criteria, or you're still developing that track record in at least one country, which can also be your home country if you want to apply under the exceptional promise criteria. If you remember vividly in my previous slide, I mentioned that there are like 2 different categories, which is like exceptional talents and exceptional promise, and there's a slight difference. If you get an endorsement as an exceptional talent, that means after 3 years of getting your visa, you can actually apply for like a permanent residency, also known as ILR. Okay, so my next slide sort of like sheds more light on what the requirements are. So like I rightly said, you need to be able to show like evidences of being like an exceptional person in whichever fields that you've decided that you specialize in or is your area of interest. So the requirements typically varies based on the field or area of expertise, but for art and culture, under the literature field, which was the platform with which I have been able to show a track record of contribution over the years, I needed to first provide 3 letters of support from any of this organization. First, organization has to be like a UK-based cultural organization. Second is an overseas or international-based organization. And then the third has to be like a letter of support from an eminent individual with recognized expertise in the field that I am applying or I have a track record in. Then you also need to be able to show like supporting evidences. You need to show 10 of those supporting evidences. I think it's worthwhile to mention at this point that this might sound pretty daunting, merely seeing it online, because I mean, you're like, whoa, how do I begin to put this together? Who do I even know in the UK? And it's important at this point to emphasize how networking can actually help. I remember YJ mentioned earlier how it's good to actually have like a very good profile on LinkedIn. You'd be amazed at how many people would be willing to support you or help you, especially if they can see like a track record of the things or contributions you've been able to make over the years. Personally, I didn't even know that the things that I've been doing over the years back at home was going to serve me one way or the other at this point. Backstory, I run like an online book sales and distribution company back at home. I don't know if anybody in the audience is aware of Roving Heights. So it was on the basis of the things that I had done there that I was able to, present some of these things. And so your supporting evidences need to cut across media recognition. So can the caseworker be able to see an evidence of media recognitions either in newspaper, on television, on radio, and maybe like these resources need to be available online, so much so that when they click on a link, they can actually see it. You also need to have probably won an international award or recognition of excellence. In an international one, if you're applying for exceptional talents. And if you're an exceptional promise, it can be from your home country as well. So long as the award body has like resources available online and everybody can be able to access them. Then a proof of appearances, exhibition, if you're an artist, if you're a photographer, if you're a graphics designer, and for publication, if you're a writer, a fiction or non-fiction writer. If you go on the government website, you definitely see a more detailed analysis of some of the things that are required for each of these categories. I'll just quickly talk about what the outcome was like for me. I mean, when my friend reached out to me to tell me about this particular visa route, it felt like it was too good to be true. But it kind of like, and I want to believe that there are several doubting Thomases, I don't know, in the audience that want to think, oh, can it just be that straightforward? I would admit that there are some there are some details and, key information you need to pay attention to when you're putting together your application. However, it's actually real. After putting together my application and submitting to the Art Council of England, my evidence and letters of support were forwarded by the Home Office to Art Council of England, and afterwards I got my endorsement, and this was what the email looked like. It was pretty very recent. And upon getting the endorsement, I moved on to stage 2, which was to apply for the visa itself. And this was what the email letting me know that my visa had been approved. And right here you can see 2027, because I got the endorsement for the exceptional promise visa. So that means for like the next 5 years, from this year to 2027, I have the legal permits to stay in the UK, after which I can then apply for my permanent residency or indefinite leave to remain. That pretty much sums up every bit of what I want to share. Most importantly, I'm open to shedding more light in form of a Q&A. So please keep putting together your questions. After any session, we will be open to shedding more light and answering them all. Thank you.